I'll just say this, alright? I don't think that Paimon is the worst character in Genshin Impact. I can't think of a character that's really bad in Genshin Impact, but I can definitely understand why people would want Paimon to be removed. Don't get me wrong, when I first started out Genshin, I genuinely liked Paimon. I didn't find those emergency food videos to be funny whatsoever. I've always felt that Paimon was a friend. And some of the most pragmatic moments for me was in Inazuma, spoilers alert. For those who don't want spoilers, please fast forward to the timestamp here. So basically, when we are in Inazuma, we were basically in like deep shit, we kind of fainted because of the environment that we were in, and there was basically no one else who would save us except for Paimon, our companion. She was the one that brought Yae to us, and that's how we managed to kind of wake up, and the story goes on. Like, if it wasn't for Paimon in this moment, I don't know what kind of situation would play, because there is no scenario where Paimon isn't around. You start Genshin with Paimon, and she's basically stuck with you from the start to the end of Genshin Impact. And moving forward from Inazuma, when we were in Fontaine, I honestly loved how she served as the voice for us when we had no voice, no pun intended. And what I mean by is this. So basically in the Archon quest of Fontaine, Traveler wasn't very happy with Laini revealing himself to be part of the Heart of the Hearth that is working with the Fatui, and he felt betrayed. And we weren't given an option to be polite to Laini and Linny about this. We were really harsh with them, and we simply walked away. But what I love in that moment is that Paimon actually spoke up. She wanted us to be forgiving, and she was basically the one who served as the mediator between us and Linny, and that's how we kind of got stuff, that's how we kind of repaired relationships. It's like, when we were very angry with Linny, Paimon would be the one to step in and be like, hey, maybe it's not the time to be angry, they also need our help, and it's not like they had a choice, after listening to their backstory, and I think that's when Paimon really stands out, and I really wish that there were more moments like this. I also love that the theory crafters have speculated that Paimon was actually the one that saved us from the explosion of the Jade Chamber, and I also love that Albedo is actually quite curious about Paimon, and I don't blame on him, honestly. I do find the banter between Albedo and Paimon to be really cute and funny, but while we had like innocent, harmless banter last time, I feel that Paimon has been taking too much of the stage lately, like with how I've heard news that only Paimon will be voiced in 5.3 and everyone else wouldn't have a voice, down to those kind of states. And I also don't really like how instead of having us introduce ourselves, Paimon is always the one that's introducing herself. She's like, Paimon's Paimon and Traveler's Traveler. Like, I would rather be the one that says, hey, I'm the Traveler that everyone is talking about, what can I do for you today? And then the person starts elaborating on how they feel, as they were walking in the streets, that kind of thing. And then we kind of pause to talk to the person more, and then Paimon then interrogates maybe just one or two questions, and then we go to whatever scene we need to do. I would really want Genshin to be really fast forward, like really straightforward with this, because I feel like some of the things that really hindered me from playing the Archon quest as much as I want to is because it feels like a lot of dialogue is catering to Paimon. Paimon is explaining to us what is going on. I think that a lot of people say that, like, Paimon is explaining to us what is going on, basically repeating whatever people say. I know some people will say that maybe it's because some of us might skip dialogue, so then we don't know what is going on, but then I also feel that that can serve as a catalyst for us to not actually skip through the story, because I feel like personally I have the tendency to just kind of skip through the button when Paimon is talking, instead of like actually looking at all the words that are going through and trying to process the information. After playing Wuthering Waves and Honkai Star Rail, I can see how Paimon is really distracting. Like, in Honkai Star Rail and Wuthering Waves, you are your own person. You are the only one that can guide yourself in this journey with a few allies on your side, and I would much rather that kind of experience rather than having someone barge into me. It's like, for example, if someone were to tell us that, a volcano explosion occurred, then Paimon will be the one that's like, a volcano explosion occurred? That kind of thing. And I would much rather the Travelers be the one interrogating about this. I'm not saying that Paimon is weak and she cannot be the assistant to us in the scenario. I just prefer it if she was the one that's listening, trying to process, and then as we are going, she is the one that talks to us. How sometimes there are some scenes where we are running and then Paimon is talking at the back. Those are the moments where I don't mind Paimon talking, because it's just Paimon and the Traveler, and they're just kind of like processing information. I would rather the information processing occur as we are going to the place than we are at the place and then like the thing just goes through over and over and over again. And apart from, I feel like Paimon stealing the spotlight from even Hoyo Fair, I'm not gonna lie. Again, this is me being a little nitpicky, but I would much rather see the fan art of Hoyo Fair with Lumine and Acer side by side, and then Paimon is just kind of at the side to indicate that she's the one that brought them together. Then she's the one in the middle, you know, because I really want to see Aether and Lumine closer to each other as siblings, because come on, they've lost each other for so long, and I really want Paimon to be this person that assures him, you know, like, you know how there are times when Lainey will make really bad jokes about how, like, oh, I have a sibling and stuff like that. Like, you can tell Acer is so, like, guilt-tripped, you know, for not being able to find his sibling, and I would much rather Paimon be the one that cut in these type of scenarios, like, hey, you know, that is a very nice, and then Lainey just kind of laugh it off. Something like how the whole Bart situation in Mondstadt, where Fenty fixed the liar, and then it's actually fake, and then Paimon is like, what do you mean by eh? I mean, as much as I find the voice acting to be annoying, I do think that pissing Paimon off is kind of fun, but just not as serious moments when we need to fight dragons, we need to help people, you know. And another thing, my last note about Paimon is that I really don't like her design. She really does feel like a baby floating fairy flying around us, and as I mentioned, she's stuck with us from start to finish. So I would much rather she kind of like change throughout the journey. Like, if there was a way to customize Paimon, I would love to, honestly. Like, I just wish they gave Paimon a more mature look, something like Amber. In fact, I don't mind if Amber was our companion instead of Paimon. I would actually choose that if I could, because when Paimon was first introduced to Mondstadt, she herself wasn't very familiar. So the person that really navigated us into Mondstadt was Amber, and I honestly felt that to be so heartwarming, because Amber is such a sweet, lovely girl for the hate that she doesn't deserve. But I'll talk about that in a separate video. I'm so sorry, Amber. I just love you in the Albedo story quest. You're so, Albedo event quest, you're so amazing. But yeah, sorry for the sidetrack. But I really wish that Paimon was someone like Amber. I don't think Amber is the kind of girl to just cut you in. She'll actually listen. And she does a sticky honey roast. And you know how they keep joking about how Paimon is excited for all these events? I don't mind the excitement of Paimon as we are going to, let's say, Inazuma, you know, and then Paimon is like, hey, I wonder what kind of festival there is, and then Aether is just kind of like smiling, and I really, really wish that Genshin could implement them actually walking when they're doing the cutscenes, just like how they do the 2D storytelling. Like, the way how they draw the 2D is so amazing, and it's how I remember some of the most amazing stories, you know. Like, that's how I remember that Kazuha lost his friend, you know. That's how I know that Scaramouche has gone through such a disastrous time. I just love the 2D storytelling in Genshin, and I would like to see more. I would like to see more dynamic between Traveler and Paimon. I would like to see less of Paimon when we're talking to other people. And yeah, that's all I have for this video. I am looking forward to talking about the other topics. Do let me know if I've missed out anything, just in case I have. And if you want to rant about why you don't like Paimon, do leave down in the comments below. I'll see you again in the next video. Bye bye!